Chapter 1. A Check. This is the story of my very first experience with drawing from a zero savings account. Of course, I was not the one who issued the check. Embarrassingly, the magazine company that owed me money paid me a mere 10 won as a manuscript fee, and since they couldn't even pay that in cash, I had to accept a check instead. I didn't have a single coin in my pocket and was completely desperate, so I was unexpectedly grateful for even that small amount. As if something urgent had happened, I ran to the Gwanghwamun post office as instructed. Not knowing much, I thought I could withdraw it as easily as getting regular money with just a simple form. Hey, you need to write the recipient's name, right? The clerk, whose mustache seemed out of place in his dark face, flipped over the slip I gave him and said in a scolding tone, "Oh, is that so?" I replied, then wrote Mr. X instead of my name. Under the section stamped with "Write the amount and name below," I handed it back to him again. Since a few people were also waiting to withdraw money, I had to wait for about 10 minutes. During that time, I thought to myself, if he asks me if I'm Mr. X, I'll say I am, without hesitation. You need to write the name of the office here, and the name of the issuer here, the clerk said, as he pushed the slip back to me again. I felt a bit annoyed, but I had no choice, and did as he said. Finally, the clerk took the troublesome check and gave me a wooden token with a number 13 on it in return. Before I could even feel happy, thinking I had finally received the money, the clerk said in a foreign voice, "Wait for about 2 hours." Wait for 2 hours? I asked, slightly surprised. You need to wait at least 2 hours. We need to get a notice, he replied. What? I found myself asking again, without realizing it. A notice has to come from the Ministry of Communications. He said Ministry of Communications with extra emphasis, as if he was proud of work there. Does that mean the notice has to come all the way from Tokyo? I almost said it, but instead, I just replied, "Oh, I see," and stepped back. 2 hours. I sat on the bench for about 10 minutes before standing up. Can't it be done a bit quicker? I went back and asked. It'll take 2 hours. You can go somewhere if you'd like, the clerk replied, sounding annoyed. I did as he said. After enduring the boring 2 hours, I went back to the post office once again. Has the notice arrived? I had no choice or to wait again. I was so nervous that it was hard to sit still. It had already been 3.5 hours, and soon it would be 4. I was worried they might not give it to me because the bank was closed at 4. Will I be able to get it today? I asked. Probably, he replied. Can't you speed it up a bit? I asked again. Well, the notice hasn't come yet, he said. Even the clerk seemed to feel sorry for me. But it looked like he couldn't do anything about it himself. Chapter 2. Mr. X. While I waited, swallowing the frustration boiling inside me, a delivery man, dressed as if he did rough labor, came in, holding a square box. He handed it to the clerk. I immediately realized that the notice I had been waiting for was inside that box and jumped to my feet. Sure enough, when the box clicked open in the clerk's hands, out came the troublesome account slip I had submitted earlier. Feeling both relief and joy at once, I approached the clerk. Since we had exchanged words so many times, I thought he would hand me the money without asking for my name. But instead, the clerk stared at me blankly, wearing an expression that seemed completely unrelated to me. Then, as if calling out to someone else, he shouted loudly, "Is Mr. X here?" I wondered who Mr. X could be, pretending to be interested in someone else's business. I glanced around, as if looking for the person being called. "Are you Mr. X?" he asked me. My chest tightened as if gripped by a sudden fear. I was Mr. Y. So why was he asking about Mr. X? A quick no came to my throat, but then I suddenly realized I should say, "Yes, that's me." Even so, I couldn't answer properly. I just stood there, staring blankly at the clock, looking confused and not knowing what to do. "Are you Mr. X?" the clerk asked again, as if he found the situation strange. "Excuse me?" I asked again, as though I couldn't understand what he meant. "Are you Mr. X yourself?" the clerk asked again. Once more, I was thrown into confusion. I was certainly not the person in question. I wasn't exactly familiar with such publicly accepted acts of deception, but I wasn't unaware of them either. Still, my own self was unconsciously insisting that I was not Mr. X. I trembled all over, as if I were about to commit a grave crime. For a brief moment, my head nodded slightly, and in a barely audible voice, I managed to say yes. Even so, I couldn't help but feel a sense of fear that my lie might be discovered and the money withheld. At the same time, deep within me, there was a faint hope that the clerk would realize I wasn't Mr. X and refuse to give me the money. However, the clerk handed over the money without any suspicion. I took the money, but it left my heart feeling bitter, as if I had swallowed something spoiled.